We are live. Okay, so I already somewhat explained to you, Bardwaj, that over on this right side or over in the Delta Heating and Air Conditioning Service CIM, which is found in the Businesses Phase 1 Delta Heat and Air folder, that this is where all the information that we put into the deal pipeline as well as the business decision making matrix will go. And so I also already explained to you that the columns here, so we've got weight, the different components, and then we've got the different companies. So they're weighted based upon how much we value those different components of the business. Three obviously being the highest, and then every business gets a rating of 1 to 3 within this green column, and then it's automatically multiplied in the white columns. So now I'll explain to you what each of these components means and what would be characteristic of a 1 through 3 rating. Some of them have to do more with industry than the business itself, but I'll explain it regardless. So on here we have high barrier to entry or high customer concentration. If you have a business that has a high barrier to entry, essentially that just means that it requires some sort of large amount of capital or strong expertise, some sort of licensing that would be challenging to get, or maybe a government contract, something like that. So in the heating and air conditioning business, the HVAC business, there really isn't any barrier to entry. I mean, you need a little certification and maybe a truck and some tools, but the barrier to entry is pretty low. So I also included in this high customer switching cost. And what that means is, essentially how hard would it be for you to go out and sell any of these businesses? Let's say, for instance, a commercial office business, how hard would it be for you to go up to them and sell your services to get them to switch from their current provider to you? And in services like this, people don't really want to switch often. They don't like to change their providers when they know what they're getting, as long as what they're getting is a good product or service. So in this case, the Delta Heat and Air, we put that there is a 3, which is the highest for the barrier to entry or customer switching cost. And that's just because people don't want to switch their service providers, and it's very hard to convince them to do so unless their service provider has really messed up. So next we have recession resistant. So how resistant to recessions are they? Within the heating and air conditioning business, as long as you're owning a heating or air conditioning business within a climate that's either very hot or very cold, you'll know that regardless of if it's the worst recession ever back in 2008, or if it's in a good times, if it's 20 degrees and their heating goes out, or if it's 110 degrees like it is in Arizona and their air conditioning goes out, it doesn't matter what it costs, they're going to call you to come out and fix it. So that's where the recession resistance comes into play, and that's why we've put a 3 right here. So sustainable competitive advantage, this one is somewhat more tricky to understand and to decipher. So you'll know that a company has a sustainable competitive advantage if they have a higher average EBITDA margin than the rest of the industry, and you can usually figure out what a average EBITDA margin is for certain industries just by Googling it or looking at all of the other um, ones that we have from our past deals in the pipeline, like all the ones that we've already said no to. So for this one, if we look at the deal pipeline, let's see. So if we look at the deal pipeline, this one I believe had 27% EBITDA margin. Let's see, Delta Heat and Air. Yes, 27.2% EBITDA margin, which is like pretty significantly higher than their peers, and that's usually due to a few different factors. They might be the main the main offering person of that service in their town, so they have a very large market share. They essentially control the market there, or they have some sort of operational efficiency that they have figured out that no one else has. That's less likely of a scenario. So I'm guessing in this case that they have, they're one of the premier providers there, or they just only accept high end clientele. So we'll put two right there. Um, and for sustainability, it kind of means how easy would it be for somebody to come in and replicate it or take them out, and it's they don't have a perfect moat, so we'll give them a 2 and not a 3. So scalability and growth potential. So for e-commerce would be an example of a 3. Um, Manufacturing would be an example of a 1, and then something like most services would be a 2. However, I've found that the HVAC industry, it's very, very challenging to find the correct personnel to hire because of the licensing requirements. So it's very challenging to find people to work for your company as you're scaling and growing the business. So we'll put a 1 for that one. It could go either as a 1 or a 2. That's somewhat more industry specific. And then you look at recurring revenue / repeat customers. So on the offering memorandum, you'll look at the marketing and sales page, and you'll see that commercial, service, and maintenance makes up 80% of their revenue. Design and installation only 20%. Looking at that, you can tell that they have a pretty strong recurring revenue stream because HVAC maintenance contracts are purely recurring revenue. And one of the advantages to that is when someone's on a maintenance contract with you, they're guaranteed pretty much to call you when something breaks. So it's a helpful recurring and repeat business model. So then we've got operational complexity. So this really just means how hard would it be for someone with no experience to come into this business and operate it well and understand what's going on. And in HVAC, it's there are some complexities to the actual work of fixing the units and replacing the units, but it's not overly complex in its nature. It wouldn't take a PhD to run it or some sort of advanced degree. So that would be a 2. Something with a 1 would be maybe a website that has really, all it does is recur revenue and you don't really do anything to it. You just hire people to market it. That would be something that would be a one. High operational complexity would be, a niche